Hey Joe, it's Jessica from Peterson SEO. Thank you so much for speaking with me today and kind of walking me through what you guys got going on there. I appreciate you accepting this video. So today I just want to go over a few things with you guys that's going to help you start bringing in more leads organically each month, okay? So, um, here you guys are. I just did a search based on your business. I do see that you guys are on socials and have quite a few listings, so that's really good. And I do see your Google business profile here. One thing I did notice before we get started, one thing I did notice is I am really happy to see you guys are doing Google updates. I recommend doing a couple per week. It has been since February 24th. And I've noticed that a lot of these, there's several posting on the same day, and that's kind of more like spam, and you want to avoid that. You want it to be kind of organic. You don't want Google to flag you. So the updates are really, really important, but let's try to do just one per day, or a couple per week, and just make sure you're doing them every single month at least, because it's going to show Google that you guys are still active. Um, but let's start from the beginning where your customers start, okay? So, because you said you want to stay north of the Seattle area, I'm using your location in Granite Falls. So, somebody in your area, when they do a search, most of the time, they're not going to know the business's name. So, they're not going to search by the business. They're going to search by the keywords and key terms and relevant questions to their situation. So, the business's responsibility is to put themselves where their customers are so they can call them in these emergencies. So there are three positions on the first page of Google that any business can own those spots in. The first is going to be Google cost per click ads. Ignore this part. I don't know why it's popping up. A reminder, my client needs to pay their pay their Google. But anyways, cost per click and also local service ads. But only about 10% of people actually click on those ads. The second part is the Google Map Pack, but it looks like you may be one of the only restoration companies with a Google business profile in Granite Falls. So I'm going to hop over to Bellevue. We could also look at Seattle, but in Bellevue, this shows a good map pack, okay? Um, your Google business profile, your goal should be in the top three for the areas that you serve. Because nearly 30% of people will skip everything else and go straight to the maps. And so when you're not one of the top three in the areas that you serve, they're going to call the top three companies. So you're missing out, you're leaving money on the table, and you're sending those customers to your competitors. And there's several factors that go in to ranking in this top three of a map pack. The number one is something called citations, which is simply listing your business in directories. So citations are directories. So it's having the same name, address, phone number, and website listed in a bunch of directories, similar to those that you have: Yelp, Yellow Pages, Glassdoor, social media, etc. And you need more than your competitors. Generally speaking, Google says on average the top three usually have 150 or more of those citations. So you want to have more of those citations than your top competitors, and then making sure your profile is fully optimized with your questions and answers, having more photos, um, working on those updates, etc. This is very fluid, so the more that you're updating it naturally every week, every month, is going to help you stay active and help you try and maintain your positioning. Um, the next is to find, or the next section is called your organic section. That is this section here. Um, the goal is to have your business listed here because nearly 60 to 70% of people will skip everything else and go straight to organics. And so it's really important that your website be properly built and optimized, not just the home page, but your service pages and the areas that you service to show up for those customers. In Seattle and Bellevue and several others, Fisher Restoration is the top organic competitor. And in Granite Falls, we have Restoration 24. So how do they get there? Well, it all starts with the website. I attempted to go to your website and it appears to be down. I'm not sure what's going on there. I know you talked about rebranding, so I'm not sure if you guys took down the website, but I wanted to let you know that it is down, so we can't actually evaluate your current website. But we will look at your competitors and we'll talk about what we should be doing. So, in Granite Falls, your top competitors, Restoration 24. They got a nice looking, fairly simple website. Their website is secure, which is important. I like that they have these call outs, 24 hours, free inspection, on site within 45 minutes. That's important for your visitors to see when they land on your page. It does help with conversions. I also like that they have these click to calls and a form immediately at the top. I always recommend that because your customers are not going to search for your information. You have limited time to capture their attention. So if they can land anywhere on your website and click to contact you, that's what you want to do. So that is important. You do need a separate page for every single one of the services you offer. That allows you to focus on the local keywords for those services so that Google can index you and put you in front of your customers. Let's see. These guys, you can see they're focusing on Seattle on this page, but they don't have a whole lot of content. And websites don't rank based on appearance. It is based on content. Content is key, and we do need a lot of content. So when I say content, what exactly do I mean? Well, that includes images. Let's see if I save this image as. Notice they have a 2.7. So this image is content that should be optimized with your local keywords and your business name. Videos are also considered content, but we're looking for also written content. Okay, Google sends crawlers to your website to figure out who you are, what you're about, and in order for them to know who you are and get you in front of the customers, you have to have this written content. And so this written content needs to be built around your services that you're offering. You need to use local keywords. You might use like Bellevue water damage restoration. Okay, so depending on the community. So you're going to use those local keywords. You need a repetition of at least 3 times for Google to pick it up and index it so that you can be found for it. And you need 150 words for every keyword you're targeting. And there's also many variations of keywords. So in order for Google to know about you, you have to have this content. Your homepage is one of the most important pages of your website, so it needs a ton of content. It's always going to need more than your competitors are doing. And on average, we should see at least 1,500 words. Unless your competitors are doing 1,500, then I'd go 1,800 to 2,000. So it's really, really critical. And because you serve multiple areas, just like these guys have done, you want separate service area pages. But when we actually click on these pages, we'll see that these really don't have any information either. So yes, they have the pages, but it's not actually doing much to help them. The purpose of these pages are to have separate service area pages for each service so that you can target your services in that specific city or location. And these just don't do that for them. So they're kind of missing the boat. Fisher is another good one. They also have separate service pages. They also have separate service area pages. They do have more content than the other guys. And their service area pages have more content. They're using FAQs, which is important because nowadays we're not just looking at SEO, search engine optimization, but we're also looking at AEO, which is Ask Engine Optimization, or answer engine optimization. That's your Siris and ChatGPTs when people are asking questions. SEO is the foundation for that, but having FAQs helps build that in when people are asking questions. So tons of things to look at here. These guys are doing something similar with their service area pages, and again, kind of missing the boat. They do have more content than the other guys, so this is definitely helping them, but they need to be focused on those local keywords. But because they have more content, they're able to be indexed for more keywords and get a lot more traffic than the other guys. This is a tool called Ahrefs. It shows us how a website performs. We can see these guys have an 8 out of 100 in Google's trust flow. So Google doesn't really trust their website, partially because of the content and the structure, but more so the power that they're pushing to their website. So to give your website power, it needs backlinks, and you do need a lot of backlinks. You need more than your competition is doing. However, not all backlinks are created equal. They need to be related to your services and your business. You don't want backlinks for Pizza Hut or Dunkin' Donuts. That's not going to help you, and it will actually hurt your score. A referring domain is any website that provides your website with a link from their site to your site, and the backlink is just that physical link. If you've ever been to a website and seen those hyperlinks and you click on it, it takes you to another page, that's what a backlink does. And if you think of this kind of like your favorite power tool, right? Power tool doesn't work without power. So you're going to take that tool, you're going to plug it into a power source, and then it's going to send power through the cord. So the power source is your referring domains. It's sending power through the cord or backlinks, and it's firing up your favorite device. It's firing up your website. So this is really, really important. Without power, nothing's going to happen. These guys have been indexed for 70 keywords, but as you can see, they're just not getting any traffic. And when we look at the keywords, they only have a couple that they're indexed for. Some storm damage, but any of the good, water, fire, mold stuff, they're not ranking for. And there's 10 spots per page on Google. So these guys need a lot of work on their content and SEO, and should be fairly easy for you guys to beat once you rebuild out that website. Fisher Restore has a higher score because he's got more backlinks and better quality. Because he's got more pages and more content, he's got over 400 keywords indexed. And these guys get over 600 people on average to their website. So they're getting a lot more jobs, a lot more deals. So you can see, kind of looking at these guys, how much you guys are missing out on every single month by not further optimizing your Google business profile, and your webpage not running. Hopefully you found this to be helpful. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.